Here with George Bryan.
Okay. So this is we're gonna do the talk about the bully story.
We're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's a two-part thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Now this is what Lisa and I call the bully story because she's the one that actually got me thinking about it.
Okay.
I told her parts of the story, and she started realizing that there was a whole story here.
So let's go, and I'm going to give you a little warning. The camera goes 30 minutes, then we got to shut down, so we're going to take a pause at 30 minutes. And I'll give you some warning.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any problem. Probably about 40 minutes total, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think.
But when I give you the notice...
no problem. I can break it anywhere. I'm in charge here. Yeah, I can handle this.
George Bryan.
Yeah, I can handle it. It's...
Hold a sec.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny light. We're going to go with it. It's fun. George Bryan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can remember that. Well...
You call this what?
The bully story. Okay. This is about bullying, about threats, about making threats, getting threats, just that kind of thing is just where it'll come out. It started. I've been in boot camp a couple months. It was a Marine boot camp, San Diego, late 50s, what's now called the Old Corps. M1s, 30 cals, and we were at the rifle range. We had transferred up to the rifle range, which was a live firing range in the outskirts of San Diego, in the suburbs of San Diego at Torrey Pines, and we were there living in these big 8-man conical tents, squad to a tent. Our platoon, we were 202, and we were part of a series, 201, 202, 203, 3 platoons in the same series on the same training schedule. We were Sunday mornings, where the boot was really, they had you moving all the time. You did not get to sit down in a chair or anything like that. That was impossible for that thing to happen. Maybe sat down in a chair twice in the whole time. And tired. You're always tired. You're getting just a half an hour, not enough sleep every night. If you could just get a little bit more, you could. But they keep you in that zone where you're just moving and constantly trying to react to what's going on, trying to stay out of trouble, so to speak, because they scream. And when you do something wrong or they perceive that you need to be screamed at, they don't have any problem doing that. So you spend a lot of your time feeling really pretty defensive. But we're sitting in the tent, relaxing, talking, having a good morning, and we got about an hour. Everybody else has gone to church, and through the wall of the tent, there's this voice that comes, and it's somebody outside talking, and I hear this voice, and I don't like the voice. I did not like this voice. I did not like this person. I didn't like anything about him, and it was instant. It was just the sound of their voice. There's voices that, if you're in a crowd or something, you hear that voice, and you know that if you don't leave, you're going to get in a fight. You just know that, And this was one of those voices, but we were in a place where we weren't going to get in a fight, but I knew that I did not like this person at all. And next thing you know, he comes in the tent. He comes into our tent, and that was totally out of the ordinary. He was 201.
What's that?
We were 202.
Oh, okay.
See, you were 202, and he was 201. Okay. Yeah, and so right away, there's a problem here. This guy's 201. I mean, what's he doing here? And I don't like him anyway. And and 201 they were the subject of our scorn. We spent a lot, and the drill instructors encouraged it. There was a lot of that. We would get in fights with them at the mud hole, that sort of thing. And it was usually put up on us by the drill instructors. They would make us clash, and they would say things about 201. They said they were a bunch of goddamn sailors who had gotten on the wrong bus. They were a big mistake having them here. And we would get into that stuff, and we'd holler at them, and they would holler at us. And here he is, 201. And he's friends with one of the squads. He'd come in from the same place. And so they're over talking, and everybody's talking. These guys are all talking to each other and talking about things that, we all talked about when we got left alone long enough to talk. And nothing different there. And I just sat back and was listening to these guys and listening to 201. And again, not liking his voice, not liking him. And then he started talking about how we should all go together up to Los Angeles for our first Liberty. Liberty's like 2 months away, and that's all we ever talked about.
We're planning.
Yeah, we're gonna wear our uniforms. We're gonna drink way too much beer.
Right.
Everything's gonna be wonderful. The women are gonna come and fawn all over us, and we would have these fantasy rounds that would go around and about what we were gonna do on our first Liberty. And he starts talking about this place in Los Angeles called Pershing Square. Well, none of us had ever heard of Pershing Square before. And he's talking about how there's all these bars there, and there's bars that are like filled with women. There are just women in these bars, and if you go to these bars, there aren't any guys there, and any males there at all. Just women, which really we're trying to understand how that could be. I mean, how could women get off by themselves like that? They needed some help. And it didn't seem like a bad idea to maybe go up and go to Los Angeles and check out this. I mean, we knew that everything really great in the world was in California.
Right.
It's in California. Everything's in California. And we just figured this was another one of those things that was in California. Right. A bar full of women. You just had to show up and take your pick. And so we're thinking that maybe this is going to work okay, and we'll go to Pershing Square. And then he starts talking about queers. There are queers in Pershing Square. And these queers are all in these bars, these other bars. They're just queer bars, and they're just these full of queers. They're all queers. And he doesn't like queers. He doesn't like queers at all. And I don't know what queers are, so I had no problem with queers.
But that was the word?
That was the word. That was what was called. I actually thought homosexuals and queers were different.
Yeah.
I had no real idea. Queer had something to do with Thursdays at school and the way you dressed.
Okay.
It was Queer Day.
Well, queer was odd. That was
guess.
another name for odd. The synonym for queer was odd.
And I wasn't worried about too much of it anyway. And he goes on about how he hates these people and how we should really kind of just teach them the lessons. They all needed to be taught lessons. That was the first thing he talked about. And that we would probably be pretty good at that. We could teach them some lessons. And he had this buddy, this friend, that was a kind of a street fighter guy in L.A. that he liked to go, and he and his buddy would go there to these bars, and they would talk one of these queers into coming outside. And then they would beat him up. They would teach him a lesson. They would surround him and his other friends, and he would talk about how scared that they would make these folks when they would lure them out of the bar. And it was a physical reaction in me. I say physical because it was so mentally jarring to hear somebody say those things. I had never heard anybody talk like that before. I had been raised in an atmosphere where if you did something like that, that was probably the worst thing you could do, was take advantage of somebody you perceived to be weaker. Didn't matter. If you perceived them to be weaker, you had to not do that. That was, and you never struck women, and there was a variety of things that you just didn't do. I think I've told you the first memory I have of my father was him knocking out the neighbor guy for having hit his wife.
I hope I still have that.
That was what I came up with. And you don't do that. The man had rules, and this guy was like this, and he kept talking. He kept describing it. You know how much he enjoyed doing this to somebody else, and how scared they would get, and how they would go back, and they would blah blah blah. And I'm not sure how much I heard after that, because I was already planning on what I was going to do to him.
Were you?
Oh yeah, I mean, instantly. But you can't fight. There's a place you can't. I couldn't go fight him, and plus he was smaller, so that went against my own rules. I couldn't. I figured I could take him pretty easy, so that meant I couldn't. But
you'd be a bully then too.
Yeah, you'd be doing the thing that you're not supposed to be doing. But scaring him was a different thing. Scaring him was a whole nother world. So you want to be scared. You think being scared's fun. That's exactly what I'm going to do to you. And it just clicked. I mean, everything was there. Every justification, I was going to be, I was going to be a killer for peace. I was going to do the right thing. I was going after this guy, the guy that needed to be gone after. And I was feeling really good about it, because he just had it coming so bad, just so bad in my mind. And I started haranguing him. I just went after him. And you have to find out whether somebody's going to fight first or not. That's one of the first things you got to figure out, was if they're going to come at you. And in those situations, you don't want that, so you don't want to push him into that. But at the same time, I had to find out. Right. So I started insulting the guy, and it becomes pretty obvious pretty quick. He's not going to fight. He's not going to come at me. He's just going to take it. And he's trying to make a joke out of it, and he's trying to slough it off. And I just made it worse and worse. And pretty soon I'm just really all over him. And he's not. He's scared. I got him scared pretty good. And I started telling him what I'm going to do to him and how I'm going to blah, blah. And then I just stepped away. I was between him and the hatch. He couldn't get away from me, so he had to take it. And then I stepped aside, and he took off. He just split. And we all have a good laugh about this. My squad and I he's 201, I didn't have to say anything about the queers. It didn't matter about that.
He was in the wrong place.
He was in the wrong place. And and so it all became this joke about me scaring 201. And then he disappears, and we go on with being at the rifle range. We got the next 3 weeks at the rifle range. And in the process of that, our platoons would pass each other as we were going from here to there. Right. And my guys all recognized him. They knew who he was. And he didn't really have anybody on his side. He hadn't been able, I can't imagine he'd been able to tell anybody about what had happened to him. So my guys would see him coming, and the word would come back where he was, and I would be locked in on him when they came into view, and he would start looking for me. And when he found me, I'd already be looking at him. I just had this down. I was really cold with it. And I'd move my mouth like I was saying something. I'd grin at him, I'd make a face. I would just do something, and he would look away, and you could just see that he would just blanch. I mean, he was still scared from the tent thing. And my squad guys, we'd all see it, and we'd all be laughing because we'd nailed old 201 again. And it just went on for these 3 weeks that we were there. We didn't talk to him, didn't confront him or anything, but would do that to him. And it worked really well. We enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I was feeling real good about it. And I did really well on qualification day. At the end of the 3 weeks, I qualified with an M1. I did really well with it. It was my 17th birthday. It was the same day as qualification day. It was probably the best day of my life, at that point. that one of the drill instructors said I was really, really good with an M1. He said I could shoot the eyes out of a Chinaman at 500 yards. What a compliment, you know?
It doesn't get any better than that.
I was just floating after that. Did you hear it? You know, yeah, the eyes out of a Chinaman at 500. And he's the guy that knew. He had been in the Chosin. So for him, it was like, yeah. And we come back to Main Side, and 201 has disappeared by that point. What time we got here? Where are we?
Don't worry about me.
Oh, okay.
No, we're only 15 minutes in.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm doing.
You got 10 more minutes.
Okay, I'm doing pretty good here.
I'll give you a 20-minute warning.
Okay, because I'm getting there.
Okay, so where were you? He would Chosin, so he would.
Yeah, we came off the rifle range. He stopped the whole platoon, called me out in front, said talked about how well I had done, and then he summed it up by saying that, and I was like, back into the ranks and off you go, you know. And you'd sign your re-enlistment papers right there.
Did you?
No,
Oh, okay.
but that was that you want to be there.
You're
It pumps you so much. And at that age, they would give us these talks that would just pump us up we just wanted to kill somebody.
Right.
We just wanted to be the right person. You know, tell us who to do it to. That's all we really need here. And, we're ready. We're ready. We have no idea what we're talking about, but we're ready. And, so we go off. We come back to Main Side. And, 201 has disappeared from my mind. I'm not thinking about him at all. And the word comes down that the Marine Corps band is going to be playing in the auditorium that night, and that we're going to get to go hear the Marine band play.
Which is a prestigious.
It's a really big deal. This is maybe one of the best bands in the world. These guys are good. And they're going to play the Marine Corps hymn, and we're going to be in Marine uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
And this is going to be like the big night. Everything's going to come to us. And so we get to go to chow early, and we come back and we shower and we put on clean utilities, and we all march over to the auditorium to all the recruits, all the staff from the base, everybody's there. And we get this lecture or talk from the drill instructors about how the general and his family is going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. And if you screw up, if you fall asleep, if you do anything wrong, you are going to be living in hell. They give you their
Don't mess up.
Yeah, their don't mess up speech. And then the drill instructor says, if nobody falls asleep, there'll be a movie afterwards, and we'll stay for the movie. Well, we haven't seen, to us, that was like a really big deal. It was a lie, but it worked. And we all wanted to stay awake so we could see the movie and not get in trouble. And so we march into the auditorium and file into the seats. And on my left, my squad goes down the row on my left. And then on my right side is the platoon guide is sitting right next to me. So I got my squad on my left, I got the platoon guide on my right, the row fills up ahead of us, we're sitting there, they're all sitting down ahead of us, and I realize it's 201, and he's sitting exactly in front of me. It's 201. He's right there, and I'm sitting behind him. He don't know I'm there. He doesn't know anything about it, I'm just sitting behind 201, and I'm looking at my squad. They all see him, we're all looking at 201. We got this guy. We own this guy. He can't get away. He can't go sideways. He can't go forward. He can't say anything. He can't go down.
Yeah, but you can't mess up either.
No, we gotta stay. We don't want to get the drill instructor's attention at all, And so we're sitting there, and we got him in front of us, and I'm having this feeling that I want this guy to know what it's like to be scared. This has become really large in me, and I can frame it in my mind. I know what it looks like. I could spit it out. I could make a speech about it. He needs to be scared. He needs to know what it's like to be on his knees and have people around him, hating him and telling him what they're going to do to him. He needs to know what it's like to be so scared that you can never trust yourself again. Because that you'll turn.
Jeez, you wanted total.
I wanted total domination of this guy. I was really, and here he is. He's sitting right in front of me,
Ripe for the pickings.
Just there, and I'm thinking, I can torture this son of a bitch all night. I'm really gonna, I'm gonna lean on him. And so I stuck my finger, licked my finger, got it good and wet, reached up and stuck it in his ear. And, that's what he knew I was there. Hey, guess who's sitting behind you? And I start talking to him, slapped him on the side of the head. I'm just, my guys, and the guy, guy's not paying a lot of attention. He doesn't know what I've been doing to this guy. He doesn't have any connection with it. So he doesn't really notice what I'm doing. But 201 is so upset at that stage, you can tell by the back of his head that he's upset. I mean, everything, he's totally, I got this guy, I really got this guy. And I got him cornered, and I'm just zeroing in on him.
He's actually like his victims.
That's the idea. That was what I wanted to do to him. I wanted him, because I was just being, it was so righteous.
Right.
I mean, I had come from a life, we'll talk about that in a bit, but I was just being totally righteous with this situation, and it felt really good. I felt like I was growing. That I was grown, that I was a man, that I was all of these things, and this is.
And you were standing up for the right thing.
I was standing up for the right. This guy had no business doing this to these people. He had no business doing it to anybody, and he's the one. He's the one that opened himself up to the kind of behavior that I wanted to give to him, which was, and I didn't want to fight him. I didn't want to hit him. I wanted to scare him, and they were a little bit different. And so I'm just, I'm leaning on this guy. And all of a sudden, just out of the blue, he starts acting like he's fallen asleep. He just starts nodding out. His head would fall over, and, he's acting like he's fallen asleep. Well, if you fall asleep, then we're not going to see the movie. You're going to pull a drill instructor in here on top of us. You can't do this. You can't fall asleep. And so I go from wanting to torture this son of a bitch to want to keep him awake. And, it was just instant. And I'm reaching up and I'm punching him, and I start threatening him, if you fall asleep. And he would do this in his seat, and I'd pull him back into his seat. And tell him, if you do that again, I'm gonna do it, and he'd do it again. I mean, as soon as I let him go, he'd fall over.
Was this a defensive reaction, like a sloth or something like that?
I have no idea why he was doing this. He just started doing it. As I'm behind him, and I'm trying to stop him. See, I'm just trying to stop him, and I can't stop him, and he won't stop. And every time I threaten him, he just does it again. And you can't threaten somebody repeatedly and not, you just can't do it. So when we're in this auditorium, there's several thousand people in this auditorium, all these recruits and all this, the general and his family, everybody's here. And how there's always a buzz that goes, the lights are still on, everything, there's this buzz happening. And sometimes when that happens, there'll be a silent little moment in those buzzes where everything will just stop, and then it'll start again. There'll be just this little reference in there, where a little spot where it's silent. Well, when that silent spot happened was just exactly the same moment that I hit him in the side of the head. I just slapped him in the side of the head. And the sound went everywhere. This acoustically perfect building. Everybody heard that slap, and everybody looked to see where it came from. I mean, it was instant. We're sitting right in the middle of this whole crowd. Pow! I hit him, and then his reaction to that was to jump up in his seat, facing me, throw his arms straight in the air, and scream as loud as I've ever heard anybody scream. It just pow, bam, scream.